Tesla just dropped its estimated EPA ranges for pretty much all of the vehicles. The Model Y long range lost 20 miles, no change in pricing though. And the same goes for Model S and X, as many as 37 miles were lost for one trim. We're talking about a major significant change here. Some of these trims saw a drop of as much as almost 10%. However, Tesla actually did not change anything about its batteries or the actual vehicle range. So here's what's going on. The EPA, which is a government agency, now mandates all EV manufacturers that sell in the US to test acceleration and ride height modes in both best and worst case scenarios. Averaging these modes results in increased consumption and a slight reduction in overall range. These changes were made to better reflect real-world range performance, which right now the EPA range, yeah, it's definitely not accurate. The whole thing actually gets a bit more complicated. If you want to geek out, simply pause and read what I just scrolled through. But it's basically just because EPA changed how testing can be done. Now, as a consumer, I actually really like this because EPA ranges are so unrealistic, especially when I drive during the winter here in Canada. As an investor, it's important to keep in mind that this change in EPA testing will affect all EV manufacturers, not just Tesla. However, I would like to point out that Tesla is generally a little bit better at these tests. So Tesla is probably going to be affected a little bit more than the other automakers. Also keep in mind that not every single Tesla vehicle was affected. For example, the rear-wheel drive Model Y was not affected and it still has the original 260 miles of range. And I did not see anyone say anything about the Model 3. From my memory, seems like the range for the long range is still the same, and I think it's the same for the rear-wheel drive Model 3 as well, but this could be just because the new Model 3 is about to come out, and maybe that one will have different estimates. And here's a full letter from EPA explaining all of the changes. I personally don't think this will be a huge deal, because physically nothing is actually changing. But as an investor, I do not see this as a positive. I think, however, many people overestimate how many miles of range they actually need. So for a little bit of time, this may slow down the transition to EVs because it will appear for a moment that all of these EVs have a little bit less range. Therefore, maybe people will go like, I'm not sure if I should switch to an EV. But as long as you can charge at home, it's definitely not an issue. It's so much more convenient actually than a gasoline car, unless you go on road trips all the time. From Samsung.com directly, it says Samsung announces collaboration with Tesla at CES 2024 for SmartThings Energy. SmartThings Energy is the first to integrate with Tesla's API to enhance residential energy experience. Tesla Energy's customers can now manage and monitor the power status of their homes through SmartThings Energy and Samsung devices in addition to the Tesla app, ensuring more access and connectivity. This is a good thing, and we'll probably see many more similar announcements in the future. Some people are about to get disappointed because Tesla is removing creep and roll stopping modes from Model 3s and Ys in the US. Now, I personally used the hold mode, which basically means when you stop, the car just stops and it doesn't move. My friend uses a creep mode, which is exactly how a gas-powered vehicle works. Unless you press on the brake, the car keeps creeping, and I think some people will not like that this mode is going to be taken away from them. I am fine with the roll mode being taken away because that one I think is just a bit silly. Imagine you stop at a traffic light, let's say, and it's not completely flat, but it seems like the road is flat. Let's say your phone rings and you take your eyes away from the road and you're looking at your phone, but the car starts rolling, but it's rolling so slowly that you don't feel it. And then your car bumps into another car because you were looking at your phone, because the car was rolling the entire time actually. But with the creep mode, you definitely feel it when the car starts moving, so that would never happen to you. Now, why is Tesla doing such a thing that will almost guaranteed upset some Tesla customers? Well, it's probably the EPA rules. EPA now requires to test the vehicles in different driving modes. So if you have the creep mode in there, I guess maybe it somehow lowers your range. Because if you ever had to push a car, you know that once you get the car moving, it's actually not that difficult to keep pushing the car, but just to get the car moving, ooh, that's difficult. So Tesla probably gets maybe 1 extra or 2 or maybe 3 extra miles for its EPA range. I don't know how many. And the main reason why I think this is the case is because this new change will only apply to the US Tesla vehicles. However, there is some good news for existing Model 3 and Y owners because Tesla is not going to take away these 2 stopping modes from you if you already have them. This will only apply to new Tesla owners. So overall, I am happy with this. I thought it applied to existing owners as well. If you are getting a new vehicle and you need to get used to how the vehicle works, I think that's fine. But if you already have the vehicle and then you make it worse and now you have to change the way you are using the vehicle, I think that's really annoying. So all good here. Tesla recalls 1.6 million cars in China to fix driving assist and faulty door locks. And you guessed it, it's a software update. So how come you're hearing about things that are happening in China here in the US from Forbes? And of course, no one is really talking about the 2.5 million Honda vehicles that were just recalled. Elon says that's because they buy a lot of advertising, and with that, the silence of the media. Gary disagrees, though. Ad spend does not drive headlines, clicks drive headlines. A headline about Honda recalls won't generate a lot of clicks. A headline about Tesla recalls gets a lot of clicks. It's not about ad spend. But I think it's a bit of both. If you spend lots of money with the media, I think they are a lot less likely to talk negatively about you. Maybe occasionally they still will, but not as much. Well, look at this. The strike might be coming to an end, perhaps, in Sweden against Tesla. The strike against Tesla Sweden could end if the automaker follows Amazon's lead and hires a contractor. Amazon was in a similar position as Tesla when it first tried to enter the Swedish market in 2020. To settle the issue, Amazon hired a logistics contractor in Sweden that already had a collective agreement with the Transport Workers Union. The contractor operates Amazon's warehouse in Sweden, but I think this situation is a bit different because Tesla already has service centers in Sweden. So you would need to restructure everything. And what would happen to Tesla workers? Would Tesla technically have to fire all of them and then the contractor hires them? How does that work? I don't think every single employee would be rehired, right? Because the contractor is making the decisions, not Tesla anymore. And how would that affect Tesla's culture? I think it would affect it negatively because now the contractor is in charge of Tesla's culture in Sweden. I'm not sure about this. This does not seem like a good solution. I think it would be maybe plausible if Tesla was to enter the market for the first time like Amazon did, but Tesla is already here. And it largely continues to operate as normal with some hurdles, many hurdles really, but it can pretty much keep operating indefinitely at the moment. It doesn't seem that Tesla is going to give up because if Tesla does, that can create a whole domino effect and then all other countries will also probably want something similar. By countries, I mean Tesla employees in different countries, and Tesla is just not going to have that happen. I think IF Metal made a huge mistake trying to pick a fight with Tesla. I mean, Tesla doesn't have all that much presence in Sweden, so they could have just left Tesla alone. But instead, I think what's happening to some degree is other companies are going to look at what Tesla is doing and say, oh, okay, there's another way to do business in Sweden. We can just do it how Tesla is doing because they just keep operating. All right. Yesterday, we saw some refreshed Model 3s in Fremont. In the US, the refreshed Model 3 really could be announced any day this month or next month, or I'm convinced personally that it's going to happen probably before the end of the quarter, but things could always change. Between the drone footage and the VIN data, I think we have got this covered, says Troy. I wonder if there's another community as obsessed with car production. I'll keep you all updated if we see anything new about the refresh Model 3 in the US. Tesla has just launched the new stealth gray color in the US, and it does not cost anything to get it. It's $0. The ultra red though costs $2,000. I think these two colors, yeah, they look better than the previous similar colors. Here's a comparison between the two reds. This is the old red and this is the new red. The new, I think, looks a lot better. This is the first new color that Model Y has gotten since it launched nearly 4 years ago. Tesla just announced that it now has 55,000 superchargers around the world and counting. In other words, Tesla's supercharging network expanded by about 10% in just 3.5 months. 44 new supercharger stalls open per day on average. Exponential growth continues. And I am happy seeing Pharrell Williams driving a Cybertruck around. Yeah, give me a Cybertruck and I will definitely be happy too. He sure looks happy here. Now, if he makes another happy song and he puts a Cybertruck in there, then I'm pretty sure that Tesla sales will look really happy. Just on YouTube alone, that song got over 1 billion views. And some news websites actually are picking up this story. So that's good. It appears that there may be another sympathy strike call. This time it may be in Germany. The union that Tesla needs to deal with in Germany seems to be quite a bit more friendly to Tesla. I don't think it's really friendly, but I mean, it's not as hostile as the one in Sweden. So I think it's a lot less likely that we will see anything really happen in Germany. We now have 2023 delivery numbers for European countries, and Germany still remains Tesla's largest European market, but France almost took it over. Next year, France could possibly take Germany over, but partially why France's sales were so high in December, for example, was because some of these subsidies expired. So maybe next year is not going to be as strong. We'll see. But some countries really surprised, like the little Denmark. Wow. Wow. Just wow. Sweden is doing fairly well despite the strikes. And then Italy is a massive country by European standards, but the sales are not that high yet, but they are growing fast. So this year could be really strong for Italy, and all other countries are also doing really well. And while Tesla's growth between quarters in terms of deliveries was not impressive at all, if you actually look at the total deliveries in all of 2023 and compare that with 2022, it is really difficult to be disappointed because Europe grew by 57%. And actually, we would have had a record quarter, last quarter in Europe, if there wasn't one ship that was delayed. Instead of going through the Suez Canal and saving a lot of time, it had to go all around Africa to finally enter Europe. And that's why we did not have a record quarter in Europe. But look, I am pretty happy with 2023 in Europe. Volkswagen pushes production ramp of the $25,000 ID2 to 2026. Also, Volkswagen is lowering prices of a lot of its vehicles. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Today was a relatively slow news day, again, just like yesterday. I will see you all back in tomorrow's episode.